What is going on, guys? We are back with Manor Lords, and they are on their second patch in 11 days. So thank you, Greg and Slavic Magic, for really paying attention to the community. I know that you've been hearing the suggestions. You guys have been taking a lot of things in your own hands and making those fixes. So on behalf of all of us Manor Lords freaks already, thank you so much for the attention to detail. I haven't read through any of this yet. We are getting into it together for the first time. And I've got nothing else to say. Let's just jump right into it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you guys for watching the channel. Alright, so we're going to scroll down here from the top and jump right into what's inside. Greg says, this time I focus mostly on balancing and bug fixes. Most notably, 1. You can hire 6 militia squads even if you already have retinue and mercenaries employed. The plan is to make the cap relative to the Lord's rank in the future builds. In other words, here's my normal army size before this patch, and now I can add 2 more. So I've got my 2 hired mercenaries, my Uranus retinue, and my Farwell retinue. The next one down the list says you can now also set a construction reserve for buildings using planks for crafting like the joiner's shop. It shows a construction reserve button with a plus and a minus. It says reserve will never be used for crafting so that enough raw resources are left for construction. So my first thought is maybe that the construction reserve should be maybe a setting in the storehouse. Not quite sure. Let's take a look. Alright, so here we are at my joiner's shop. I had set my construction reserve to 20, and it seems to me that no matter how many shields, for example, this joiner's shop is making, the storage, the construction reserve doesn't dip below 20. Now, I haven't noticed if I go and upgrade something or build something that requires planks, if they'll pull it from here, in which case it's basically just an alternate storage spot, taking pressure off of the storehouses, freeing up a little bit of space in there. Very cool addition, I think, moving forward. Just another way to just manipulate the game that's already very flexible to the individual user's experience. Next, we have the full channel log, and that is a, I guess it's what's been changed from the last patch. Gameplay and balance. They have capped the sheep breeding to 1 new lamb every 10 days max. Reasonable. Another experimental one here, much like in the last patch. These things may or may not be adjusted or removed. We'll see. Next one says villagers are now only allowed to fetch water from the well that's nearest to their home, except in the case of a fire. Next, the yield will now never increase past 100% growth because it was unintuitive to players that yield can still increase over 100%, which was initially designed for winter crops specifically. Even when fertility reaches 0%, there should still be a tiny little bit of yield possible now. Very cool. Sounds like they're really making some changes to the farming system. Amped up max yield per plant from 2 to 4. Hunting grounds policy still reduces it by half. Plant yield rate reduced by half. This is a continued attempt to force early harvest, only in emergency mode. The militia squad limits is now 6 regardless of whether the player already has a retinue, mercenaries, or not. In the future, it will be connected to a rank system. Doubled the fertility regeneration rate effect on fallow fields and from fertilization. Slowed all plant growth down by around 30%. The reason for slower field crops is to make the winter crop make sense. The season for slower veggie crops is cause it was too powerful compared to farming. Alright, so they kind of balanced out the Burgage plot farms compared to actual farms. Sounds like they want to incorporate the farming into the game. It seemed like when they first came out with the game, when it was first released, they were trying to get away from the generic city building farming system, which I don't blame them. But I think that with how different and how customizable the experience is for each individual player, depending on what they want to do, to bring that farming system back to a more generic version is kind of what it's lacking. Increase the archer range by 1.5% and increased their damage from 12 to 15. Another buff on the archers, that's cool. Cost of opening new trade routes was brought back to linear scaling. Bumped up the carrying capacity of on-foot trading post workers from 1 to 5. We went over that one. Royal tax is now calculated as follows. No tax for the first 5 years. 1 treasury per citizen after 5 years. 2 treasury per citizen after 10 years. 3 treasury per citizen after 15 years. So, yeah, the tax is definitely on, after the first decade is really when you're going to start to see those taxes really hit you. Hopefully by then you've built up a stable enough economy. Granary and storehouse worker slots adjusted, unified to be 3 families for level 1 and 6 families for level 2. Okay, so now in the granary and storehouse, as you upgrade, it allows you to have more families. Very cool. There are some bug fixes here. We're not going to read through all of them. Simple things like fixed farming oxen not respecting work area limits. I've noticed that one before. Fixed the forest mask not drawing. Haven't seen that one. But if you'd like, this is on the Steam page. You can read through all of those bug fixes. And then at the very end, tune field dirt UV wiggle to make those huge vegetable gardens players were making less wavy. Okay. Improved the precision for snapping terraforming meshes like mines or saw pits to ground. Made leaf clumps smaller and disabled the parallax mapping since it caused distortions and was very visible anyway. If you pick the green lady portrait, the visit mode character should now be female, though it's still work in progress and will look a bit funky. Thank you for the heads up. And combat animation cleaned up. The combat is definitely a little janky, but it's kind of what I love about it. And that is all from Greg and Slavic Magic team that he's got working so diligently with him. And I gotta give it to him. I mentioned this in the video for patch 1. These guys are killing it with just staying on top of these fixes. Love to see it. This game is going places, and I can't wait to see where it ends up. So not as big of a patch as the first one. I think that's a good sign. And I look forward to the next patch. So thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And you guys have a blessed day.